Sean, Dr. Copper, and Camilo. So four people will be presenting today. So I'm going to be sharing my screen very soon, and we're going to be starting very soon. Just give me 1 second. Let me just share that screen so that everybody could see.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Who do we have on the line?
It shows up my MEV, Maria Elena Villanueva, but I cannot see my face.
You cannot see your face. You have to turn on your camera. I think it's somewhere.
Okay. But I can listen to you and I can read your power presentation or.
Okay, can you see me?
Oh no, perfect. And I can listen to you perfect.
Okay, that's good.
Present.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Just to tell you, present like a student that is in class.
Come on.
Well, yeah, we're in remote class now. So, well, thank you so much for that comment. So, Dr. Jack Michael, I know you're looking at the poll and getting some data for us. We know that a few people were not able to join us because we did a doodle poll, and most people chose today at this time. And the second other preferred date and time was Wednesday. I'm not particularly sure what time on Wednesday. The speaker, are you on the line?
This is Sean.
Yes. Oh, okay, Sean, you're welcome. Right. So actually did the polls, and basically, so people chose Monday and Wednesdays. So we know we're all over the place. Everybody is everywhere in the world, and gradually we'll make sure that we have dates at least that could allow most people to attend. Right. So we have three speakers. I'm going to move along, but before I move along, I want to just give a general disclaimer that these presentations are provided for educational purposes only, and that this forum is not designated to provide advice on the care of patients, which remains solely the responsibility of the physician in country. This session will be recorded and posted online for educational purposes. So our panelists today, we have Dr. Jack Michael, our thought leader, and we have Sean Ragon, MD. He's with the Tocentric team, and these are the group that actually provided support for Ebola. And he will be sharing more about himself, introducing himself, worked with the US military, collaborated with CDC, and he's going to be a very renowned medical family, mom, a nurse, father, a physician. So he's going to share more about him soon. And we have equally a part of our panelists is Dr. John Capel. Dr. John Van Capel is an educator, has a doctorate in education, and he's going to be one of our contact tracing specialists. He's going to be training all the volunteers. And he'll have 10 minutes to share insights about ways he wants to go about it and some of the issues, things we should prepare for. And the last but not the least, I think the most important person, because we're doing digital surveillance, is Camilo Hernandez. So he will be talking more about the COVID Fighter app and demonstrating that with us. And we want to use this opportunity to ask those that, when we did the demonstration over the weekend, some people were patients, some people were agents. So all those that were agents, we want you to be patients this time, right? And vice versa, right? And if it will be possible, we need new people, to help in that demonstration so that everybody can learn, right? And so again, the question and answer session will be conducted by Dr. Rana, and I'm your humble presenter, and I want to thank Deepika for preparing the slides. So quickly, just going to run through the agenda. Major points is we want a high-level overview from Dr. Jack Michael on Team 10, what the agenda is, what our partnerships are, what fundings do we have. So he's going to provide a high-level overview of that. And we're going to turn that over to Sean. Sean is going to tell us more about his organization and actually talk a little bit about regional alignments, how we're going to do the whole mapping up to zip code, and equally how we're going to provide visibility to these programs. And afterwards, we're going to transfer the mic to Dr. Van Capel, who will be talking about contact tracers training. And finally, like I said before, Camilo will take care of COVID Fighter app. So, Dr. Michael, are you there? You could take it from here.
Absolutely. Let me start by saying that at some point we're going to break you up into 10 regions. And so start thinking what region you belong to. So we have the region 1 is kind of the Northeast region that includes Boston, New York City. I don't know if you all got the map. Actually, you know what? Maybe, Obi, can you put that map up there?
Okay, yes. One time, let me put it right now.
Share the map right now. So, okay, so now you guys see that map. Think about what region you belong to. I'm going to be polling you in a little bit to tell me what region to put you in, because the idea is before this meeting ends, we want you all to meet each other, the people in each of those regions, to see how we can align efforts. So just think, obviously, if you're outside the United States, it doesn't apply. But if you are inside the United States, look at those regions and think about which number, because I'm going to be asking each one of you which number to assign you to, probably via chat, and while we listen to the other presentations.
Thank you, Dr. Miguel. Do you want me to go back to the first slide, or yeah? Let me just quickly take it back so that yeah. So go ahead, Dr. Michael.
Yeah. So that's pretty much. Everybody knows what this team is about. So we are basically going to be the contact tracers. And the idea is that in order to stop the spread of the virus, the only tested method to do this is through contact tracing. And so our goal as a team will be to recruit hundreds of thousands of people to do this. It's estimated that you need like 200,000 people plus in the United States alone. So that's really what the goal of this team is to develop the criteria on how to be a good contact tracer. I see you guys are putting your regions. That's great. I'm going to start going through the chat and assigning you. And so that's the goal is to train you to be a good contact tracer, to train other people to be contact tracers. And then obviously we're going to have the app that Camilo is displaying, which is the COVID Fighter app that will be available to patients that are positive. And then they're going to be followed by either members of this team or members of other teams for the 14 days of quarantine. And eventually we're going to approach them for maybe plasma donations, life-saving plasma donations and things like that. So that's where we're at. And I want to start assigning you by teams now. Let Obi take over.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you, Dr. Michael. So in terms of progress, we've made a lot of progress. We have new members. What's the current count of the membership?
215. Right now on this call, we have 100 people.
Awesome. So yeah, most of them are in the United States. But if you're outside of the United States, please just put in on the chat which countries you're from, so that we actually, we're taking some roll call, and that will help us when we're designing subsequent webinar to make sure we're meeting all the time zones. So please, just on the chat, just type in the countries and I know Raina is taking a look at that, right? In terms of partnership, Dr. Mitchell is actually looking into partnering with Dr. Sean's group, Tocentric, and I know Sean is going to be telling us more about that at some point, and maybe we defer funding to much later to see, inside Dr. Mitchell will share with us much later. Or Dr. Mitchell, do you want to talk about partnership and funding at this time?
I think let's develop that later. I mean, I want to get people started with the presentations, and then I think we can have some conclusions towards the end.
Okay, great. That's so basically we're just going to be recruiting over 100,000 volunteers across the United States and around the world, if possible. We're getting a lot of traffic from Pakistan, and we'll look at this poll and see which other countries that we have on. Rana, are you there? Which countries do we have? Can you read out a few of the countries that were just to give us a sense of what's going on?
Yeah, so we have a lot of people from US, but we also have people from Pakistan, a couple of them.
¿De qué región yo quiero?
Nepal, Canada, Dubai.
Yo quiero la 4, que es, dice, I live in Miami, quiero decir, pero I want number 4. Ahí pongo.
Okay, so
yeah, sí está correcto, pero mute your phone, ponle mute a tu teléfono para que puedan pueda hablar. No, don't worry.
I'm sorry, doctor.
Yeah, so
no worries.
So we're actually going global. Thank you, Rana, for sharing that insight with us. So this is big, and we're really very excited, and we're going to bring in Dr. Sean quickly to share insight about how we're going to go about this, because he understands how the whole mapping is done, even up to the zip code level. So Dr. Sean, I'm going to bring you on. You could talk briefly about Tocentric, talk about the region, how we could do the mapping, and how we could ensure visibility for this program.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Sean Rigoni. I'm a physician. I'm a public health physician. I spent 20 years in the public health sector with the poison centers, the American Association of Poison Control Centers. Everyone's understanding of the poison center is typically that if a child gets into something, you call the line, you get advice. It's more elaborate than that and more technical in the sense that every poison center is attached to a medical university or pharmacy, a PharmD program. And therefore there's fellowships, and we rotate the fellows through the poison center, and everything has to do with toxicology in its broad sense. And also over the last 20 years has been public health centric, in the sense that when outbreaks occur, because we do a fair amount of infectious disease with rabies, and these are all clinical decision-making algorithms that we use, and back it up with the fellows or attendings and or the state epidemiologist or epidemiologist on call. So over these years, when the Ebola case occurred in the United States, the Poison Center has equipped to deal with hundreds and hundreds of phone calls, lines at one given time. And they could rely on other surrounding poison centers to help any excess flow. In that vein, we have, there's been a development over the last, 30 years or 40 years, is a program called Toxentry. Toxentry is a leasable product from what I understand. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, I'm not from Toxentry. I am on my own as a consultant here. But I have just left the system only in December after 20 years of service. So I'm looking for different opportunities now that more public health centric. But this Toxentry medical record program is very conducible, very user friendly. It's very forgiving. And the thing is that it will have us the ability to have options and drop down menus that foresees the typical problems that we are going to learn as a learning curve that's in situ and ongoing, versus something that we've already have practice and skills with. And it's a very easy program to teach because it's not just geared towards medical providers. It's also geared like nurses, pharmacists, and physicians that are poison specialists. It's also geared towards a 24-hour public health hotline that is actually housed in the poison center. So most of these calls that you're seeing to the New York City system, which is 311, California's system, all of these different systems are rolling their phone calls over to the poison center because of the sheer brute force they have in telemedicine, because it's always been over the phone, and then the introduction of computers. So this Tox Sentry I propose is probably one of the best options for quickly getting this program for the documentation purposes off the ground and running out right out of the gate. We'll be talking with Dr. Michelle regarding the all aspects of working the deal with Tox Sentry and the Poison Center. And we look forward to, or I look forward to hopefully getting this thing set so that it can actually come out the gate. Because as everybody understands here, that the most critical, mission critical statement right now and mission critical mission right now is patient tracking. The reason why you heard in the beginning of this emerging threat with SARS-CoV-2 is that we didn't have numbers. The models that they keep talking about are based on numbers, and we don't have that ability, and that leaves us wide open to a myriad of problems and complications and misreporting, as we've seen probably like that of China. So the best way to do it is have everyone on the same page. And once we get the numbers of who's tested positive, whichever of the 4 or 5 tests that are out there now, whether it's patients post-convalescence, all these data points are going to be extremely important to the academics of what is going on here for future references, because obviously we all know that there's a pandemic that's probably worse than this coming down in the near future, as the way it looks. So what I'd like to do is just help keep the focus on making this patient contracting, patient tracing, patient tracking a very robust, very energetic, very sleeves up and get grinding type of department or area of this program. So if anybody has questions, years of doing patient being a clinical decision making for the public health department of the state of Georgia regarding any of the emerging threats, which is like Ebola, SARS, Zika. I have experience with all of those as far as data gathering, helping the CDC and public health departments and HHS who are housed here in Georgia. I got to work with them as a non-receivership aspect in the sense that they didn't pay us, we didn't pay them, we just worked collaboratively together. So feel free to, we'll leave my information somewhere along the line here. And if anyone has any questions on how they could work this program, feel free to just contact me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Ragon. So, and we equally want your insights, about the region, and we understand that some ideas you have about tools.
Yeah. So the thing here is that the regions has always been broken down into 10 sections. As far as since I've been in the field since 2001, the sections are there for several reasons. It's organization-wise. It's also there for it has a lot to do with the funding, the state and federal funding that goes out, and who gets sent where, and what resources get sent where, based on FEMA, based on each state's own internal emergency management agency. And also, in order for distribution of stockpiled antidotes, treatments, or any type of aspect that the virus needs as far as resources. So the way that it's broken down into 10, it allows the districts to have a district head. The district heads meet together, then they decide on how to problem shoot or solve whatever the issues that are going on, but also for easier data collection, since the system is already built around these 10 stations or 10 regions.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I know Dr. Rana is getting some questions. Dr. Rana, are there some questions that you want us to address before we move to the next speaker?
Dr. Obi, there are no questions for this particular speaker. I think we can go ahead.
Okay, maybe not right now. Maybe people, so if you have questions, please don't forget. Just keep typing them down so that Dr. Rana could read it out to us. So we're going to be...
sorry, Obi, we just have one question. Maryland comes in mid-Atlantic region. So which is that region?
Dr. Ragon, do you want to address that?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Okay, someone said 3 maybe.
Okay, yeah, 3.
Okay, thank you.
But remember that if you're on the border of one of the states, it could change to 4 easily. We saw that with North Carolina in some of our cases. But it's basically broken up into regions like that based on their population.
could you tell us more about, this, the border states, is that what you're trying to, can you tell us more about
Yeah.
it?
Me or the other person?
No, you. Yeah.
Okay. So again, these 10 sections are divided in order to bring rapid care, get rapid funds, all based on their sections. So, but sometimes there are cases, the advent of cell phones, people are calling from, if it's based on call volume and where your calls are coming from. This is why the zip code becomes more important than the old antiquated area code, because no one has house lines anymore. But with these 10 sections, it's also where FEMA and HHS determine on who's responsible for what section on the federal level. So these are federal regions that are allocated by the HHS, which is the federal system. The federal public health system is Health and Human Services. And they have a medical corps, which are the non-military uniformed branch of the government is HHS, and the medical corps. So those are physicians, nurses, pharmacists, PhDs they are responsible for those sections. And they have a bureau chief or a region chief that they speak to, and it all filters back to DC. That gets fixed. Questions get answered, and the material gets to the locations based on their need.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Rowan. So we're going to move quickly, and
Dr. Obi, we have a question for Dr. Agun.
Okay, go ahead, please, Dr. Rowan.
We have a question which says that some of the regions have they're highly populated. So does that work well region-wise?
Yes, these regions have all been proven effective. This map has not changed that much at all. So with that understanding, the areas like New York City, as you could see, is region 2, and it's not a very large body of land that it covers. It's one state with Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, but the population is so huge that's why that 2 is just there, opposed to Denver, which has traditionally always covered a large multiple state border public health aspect. So Denver has a system that is very robust in public health. So this is how they have the ability to deal with people are more sparse, they're in further areas, but the cities are a large amount of numbers. It's just the rural areas are not that populated. So this is why you see something like 2 versus 8. That reflects the population, and there's some socioeconomic aspects to it as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Give me 1 second. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Rahon. So we're going to be bringing in Dr. John Van Kapel. John, are you on?
Yes, I am. I'm here. Yes.
Awesome. So John is going to be contact tracer specialist trainer. So, and there were a few issues that were raised on our WhatsApp group about identity issues. How do we brand ourselves? Especially when people are sending text messages, calls, and that's some kind of scam going on around the COVID-19. So, and that will be an uphill task for our group. But Sean has experience training people and over 20 years experience, worked in Guatemala. So I'll allow Sean, Dr. John Van Kapel, my apologies.
That's okay.
Yeah, so introduce himself, talk a little bit more about some of these issues and how best we could, approach training of our volunteers. Please, I'll pass the mic to you, Dr. Kapel.
Great. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here and to be a part of this group. And also, thank you very much, Obi, for telling us at the beginning that we need to have patience as we move forward on this. I think that's especially true as for the trainers, because I think we all want to get out and do this, but we've got to put together the program and the training first. And so it's in its infancy. And so we need to sort of temper the urgency with having accuracy, professionalism, and installing best practices. So this list that you see before you are some of the issues that I've identified that we need to be thinking about as we pull the training together. As Obi just mentioned, we need to really know who are we, so that when we do call both, doctors or community health centers, hospitals, and even with the patients themselves, who do we tell them that we are? And that gives the organization credibility, but it also helps with the contact tracers to have a sense of real confidence in who they are and who they represent. So we need to be really clear about, what our name is, who we are, and what our brand is. That's something we need to be working on. I think we also need to really be clear about our goals and objectives. It's a huge undertaking. I really appreciate the regionalization of the United States. I think that was one of my questions: is how do we attack this problem? And that is a really good division of the country, so that will allow us to set our goals and objectives for the trainers that we need, or the contact tracers that we need, and how many in each of these regions. So that's really very helpful. We need to think about the parameters. We're going to be talking with a lot of people that come from very different sectors of society. Some will have a lot of support, and others will not have a lot of support. So what are our limitations? What is the extent of what we can offer them and what we're providing or asking of them, and what are the limitations? I think this also has some legal issues that are involved in there that would be helpful to be sure that we have attorneys that look over the questions that we're asking, that we're not asking something that's going to put any of our contact tracers in trouble. But we need to really let them also know that what their limitations are as to what they're offering to anybody that they're talking with, so that we as an organization are also protected. And then when we get actually into the training, we need to figure out, we need to have what applications are we using, or what web applications are we using? What are the tools that they're going to have? And I think that Sean has just presented us with a very good option. I know there's others that are out there doing very similar things. Partners in Health out of Boston, Massachusetts is already doing this. It would be great to get more information to find out, are we covering whoever the end users are? And that's the other thing, I'm not clear as to who the end users are, who's going to get this information, and how are they using it? So when we are doing our training, we also want to be very clear with our contact tracers what we're doing with this information, so that they have an idea of the bigger picture. I know that a lot of people here are people who are in the medical and health field, but there's a lot of people that are going to be joining us that have no experience in the medical and health field, and it would be helpful for them to understand, where is this going, and how is this making a difference in, how we address the whole COVID issue. We need to be clear as we're training people, what kind of support can we give to the contact trainers, and who can they talk with? So do we have a tiered team of leadership? Do we have regional coordinators, and then do we have sort of community directors, and then do we have the other contact tracers that are just involved with so many people as well? We need to think through how many individuals can each contact tracer be working with? Can they work with, if somebody's 10 hours a week, how many people are they going to be able to work with? I think that it depends on the information we're collecting, as well as on the individuals, to how talkative they're going to be with either the patient, or just their own, how much they like to talk with people. So, and then I think that for our immediate action, I think it's, one is we need to really find out, what tools do we want to use, but we also could be, I think, moving ahead on having, somebody help us put this together on a, on the web, so that once we actually get the materials, they can be plugged in. We need to have people who can review this. So people in the medical field, we need to have copywriters probably who can help us write things clearly. Again, we're going to be working with people from various sectors of society. So we need to make this simple. We need to make it kind and gentle. We got to think about our users, who are probably scared. They're probably angry. They're probably experiencing a lot of emotions, and this may be one more thing they don't want to do, but they also understand that they should be doing. So how do we make this to be a really kind and gentle and very user-friendly? So that, in a nutshell, is where we're at with developing some training. Are there any questions that I can take at this point?
I'd like to say something, just Sean. So again, the reason why the Talk Century, again, I'm not part of them, but I utilized the tool for 20 years, and the reason why this program is probably going to be our best bet, if should we be able to get at least, is that because of its reader friendly. You know, again, working in the Poison Center, this is exactly what we did. We were medically trained. There was some not medically trained, but as long as you have a supervisor that somebody, or we'll probably design a small didactics course, and to make this thing, because what we're trying to do is just obtain data points, but those data points are going to feed into a massive public health machine. And the goal here is to, you know, because sometimes these type of programs are not just used for patient tracking in a sense, it's also used for disease tracking. So the characteristics and like understanding the infectiousness of the aspect. But I think that I have experience with writing scripts for non-medical people to say, because it is an art form to talk on the phone. You have to have inflection. You have to understand what inflection is, but keeping it simple. And I agree with the doctor that you have to keep it simple and stupid, or stupid and simple, however the cliche is, because we're going to have a lot of different, they're going to be adding on to these programs, I bet, just based on the fact is that the utilization of the data that Dr. Michel's program is going to pump out is going to be important to HHS and CDC and NIH. So we have to make sure that we keep it simple so that our documentation is accurate, so that it could feed into the machine accurately without any much limitations. So I could tell you this from a layperson standpoint all the way up to a physician standpoint, this is very doable. And it's just a matter of talking to somebody, as if we're not talking to colleagues, just talking to the lay public and trying to get them to understand why. This program also is HIPAA protected, so it's already built in. Dr. Michel's hospital system is a HIPAA institution, so that's built in. So we could work in a quick little one-sentence statement that states this is a HIPAA protected phone call, how may we help you, or we're calling from here and this is all HIPAA protected. And as long as you're mentioning it, as long as there's something documentation on a timestamp somewhere that you mentioned it and it's there, then that eliminates that whole aspect too. And then getting a name, you know, emerging threats division is usually what most public health departments go with. They all have an emerging threats division. It's somewhere between the medical community and the primary responders on the emergency operations center, like the EOC. So everybody has a point here. This is going to be one of the most critical points, but it's not the most difficult and taxing academically or mentally, you know, intellectually. The right people, the right system, just like built like a Poison Center, will make this thing go quick, and it'll be easy to troubleshoot.
Great. No, sounds great. I look forward to seeing it. I think it sounds exactly what I think what we would need.
Okay.
Let me just unmute. So I'm unmuting now. Thank you, Dr. John Capel. Sorry, Van Capel, right? So I just want to check in with Rana if we have questions at this point. Rana, are you there?
We don't have any direct questions for Dr. Capel, so I think we can take the questions later.
Okay, we'll take all the questions later.
All right, so Obi, we just got a question.
Okay.
From Dr. Farhana.
Okay, please go ahead.
Because she's asking that most of us and the people we would call would like to know about the broad picture. For example, where is this information going? So how is this information used?
Yeah, so Dr. Capel, are you, Van Capel, I know you're thinking through the process. Do you want to share some light? Actually,
that's one of the questions that we need to find out, like where it's going to go. So I think that'd be a bit more for Dr. Michel. He would know. I don't know where it's going.
Is Dr. Michel still on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm working on the groups.
Okay, so I think there's a question. There was a question for you. Rana is going to read it again so that you get it.
Yeah, I got it.
Dr. Michel, you got the question, Dr. Michel?
Yeah. So I mean, where this is going is, I am thinking that if we make enough noise, our public health. I'm sorry that you can't see my picture, but I'm working from my computer instead of my iPad in order to be able to do the groups. So but next time you'll be able to see me. But my hope is that what's happening now is that the public health departments are behind the eight ball. And I think if we show as citizens, as responsible citizens, that we want to take control of this and we want to volunteer and do this, I think ultimately what should happen is that the health departments for each region are going to basically adopt the people that we have already on the field and hopefully give them a job if, you know.
Dr. Michelle,
yeah.
So typically the way this goes is that I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with proactiveness. Sometimes you have to develop a program in order to walk up to them and say, look at this box of all the things we got. We've been doing this over here out of Miami, and this is exactly what you're looking for based on all the guidelines that are already published and known to everybody in the community.
Right.
And you present this essentially this golden egg and say, look, we have perfected a system. We need your people, which is going to be, I know the context, it's going to be HHS. And then the CDC will take a look at it as well from the prevention standpoint. But all of this data, if done correctly, just like, again, I use the Poison Center because that's what I know, it will be handed to the HHS officials that deal with aggregating the data. Because if we're doing something different that's better and nobody else is knowing it because we didn't tell anyone, then that's fine, as long as the outcome presents them with an efficient way of doing something that bolsters the numbers. And it may also spin off to other hospitals that want to take the initiative as well, because it's in one way to cure the frustration of the bureaucracy in public health is to just put up the numbers. You know, as long as it's following the national guidelines from the CDC, NIH, HHS, then everything should be copacetic, and their professionals that deal specifically with the logistics and statistics, they will tweak it to the federal aspect of it, like writing a grant. You know, everybody's a little different on their grants. So, but the federal guidelines have their very specific mannerisms about it. So by us doing this first, and Dr. Michelle's vision and gumption and just tenacity to do this is admirable. And I'll tell you right now, I spoke to the medical director of the Miami Poison Center today, which covers most of South Florida. And what he said to us when I was asking about the application for ToxSentry, again, I'm not with ToxSentry, that I explained to them that what's going on. And he says, you know something, that's great if they are taking our overflow, because they are being crushed. And that's always the case. And that's why it makes it a high stress environment. But they also teach, what we'll probably teach through this didactics, is that there's a way to desensitize and de-stress, because we are going to be dealing with people that have lost friends, families. It's very personal to them. But again, there's an art form to speaking on the phone to patients, to people in medical crisis. And that is not an art form that is difficult to obtain. It just has to do with empathy, and it has to do with calm, cool collectedness. And you're right, we can't spend 30 to 45 minutes on each phone call unless it's absolutely necessary. So one call can have one person that only traces one person, or one can trace one that has 15 generations in their house. And I know it's exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying. So this is doable. It's doable quickly, fairly quickly as well. And everybody here is the proof of that. Everybody has the same goal, and it's I don't see it as beating the virus, but I see it as conquering the virus, because we have to conquer this aspect and to put it into a place, because we still don't know anything about it. There's still novel disease and a novel infection virus. So we have to expect that not knowing certain things is going to be the answer to a lot of things. It's going to say, we just don't know. It's a moving target. So what we're trying to do is isolate the moving target so that everybody can lower the curve that way, because that has been proven time and time again.
So let me, maybe, you know what, maybe if I back up a little bit and talk about how this came to be, people will understand more or less why we're getting involved. So we started about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we had a survivor of a viral cardiomyopathy who was a 20-some-odd-year-old who just died from viral cardiomyopathy. And he insisted on getting a cardiac biopsy, which are not done in the US. He went to a team in Germany, to the Charité Hospital in Berlin. They did the biopsy, they treated him. He had been on a transplant list. and basically they cured him. He convinced the German scientists to move the biobank here to the US. So now we have a lab that's able to do that for the US, all the viruses that can cause attacks of the heart, which coronavirus is one of them. So he basically put all his energy into this, and this is how we became involved in the viral aspect of it. In about January, these same people told us that this might be coming and that we should get a high output machine. So we got the Panther Hologic, which can do 1,200 tests a day under PCR for the coronavirus. And so we were one of the first testers here. As a result, we ended up with about 900, close to 1,000 positives, who we are having volunteer people give them peer support, and then slowly we're actually converting them into plasma donors. So far we've had about 20 plasma donations, got people off ventilators with it. So all of these things kind of evolved like little by little. And then when we started realizing that we have 1,000 people, and we started realizing the stories, and we started realizing how deficient, or I shouldn't say deficient, but unprepared the local Department of Health was, just from a staffing perspective, from an understanding perspective. We would report these things to them, and then they would call us 2 days later and say, "Oh, we can't get a hold of so and so." So we started just doing it ourselves. We became de facto contact tracers, and then the idea came, well, maybe we need an army to do this. I guess there's only 2,000 in the U.S., and you need like 250,000 people to do this. So we thought, we need a call to action and get people involved in this. So and that's how this came about. And honestly, either whether government gets involved or not, I think we have responsibility as citizens to just residents to put this together. So that's basically how we got here.
And there are, if I can interject, there are federal incentives here, like huge federal incentives. I mean, as a foreign medical graduate who from another country and did a residency in another country, came back here, I still had U.S. federal backed loans because the university I attended to did it. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people from my university in Miami alone who are not in practice, that are doing different types of jobs, research and things like that, but they still have the medical school loan debt. And from what I understand from the next stimulus that's coming in, this one or the third one or the fourth one is going to include anybody who volunteered on the front lines in any capacity is going to be considered to have loan forgiveness in totality, like to the end, like just completely wiped out. Like the loan forgiveness programs, you make a certain amount of payments over a certain amount of time, it gets forgiven the balance. So there's a huge incentive for people who have federal loans. And then the other thing is, this is just the people who want to help because they're quarantined. This is the time to get them because it'll give them a purpose, give them some direction. Not that they don't have purpose, but it'll be like the Rosie Riveter. It was a call to arms. And in order for us to utilize this fog of war that's going on now, because it's, the euphemism war has been played, is that the fog of war is going to allow us to get things done through the bureaucratic aspect of it, and then present it to them quicker so that they could say, we'll give our, they could give their blessing in the sense they're not necessarily going to regulate it in the sense that you want their approval that they agree with what you're doing qualifies for what they would do. And that I think is going to be easily obtained, especially if I'm in Atlanta. I could, speak to several HHS people that I've helped train or that trained me over the years in Atlanta and see how quick we can get this thing going.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ragon, for sharing those insights. Yeah, so as many of us can see, so beyond just volunteering, there are other benefits, for doing this, in addition to the passion you have for the job, for this, helping out in helping resolve some of the issues around this pandemic. And it is equally an opportunity to gain a lot of experience. And there's a social capital that we get over time, working with each other, that social network, is very key. So,
absolutely.
I should also add, Obi, I should also add that if you're a medical student and you're listening to this, I believe this experience counts as part of your training. So Larkin Community Hospital is a teaching hospital. We can definitely give you a certificate and give you credit for this time with your medical school. It could also serve as a letter of recommendation if you're applying for residency training. So there's a lot of advantages to being in addition to the fact that you're trying to help out. I think there's a way that we can also help out your future careers.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Michel. So I'm gonna quickly check in with Rana if we have additional questions for any of our three panelists before we go into the remaining part of this presentation. I know we're running a little bit out of time. This will be recorded, so if people want to leave at any point, that's okay. But this is the most important aspect of what we're doing, because we're not doing the food on the ground, we're doing the digital surveillance. And Camilo is here to do the demonstration of that app. So, but Rana, please, if there are questions, please go ahead and ask our panelists.
All right, so the first question, Dr. Aguni, Montana, which region is that?
Sean, I think that question is for you.
Yeah, let me just get the map 1 second.
Okay.
Let's put it up again so people can see it.
Yeah. So give me 1 second. Let me bring it back.
If I'm not mistaken, Montana is 8.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
You can easily Google, since this is a format, you guys can Google what public health region am I? And then it'll come up with an app or a site that you can just plug in or just say what is Montana's public health region.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Aguni. So we also have a question. Someone was asking, are the people dying of sudden cardiac death? Do we know that?
So this particular virus is very cardiotropic. So yes, it attacks the lungs, and really a lot of people die mainly from the lung failure, but it does attack the heart. And our collaborators in Germany already have biopsies of heart tissues being destroyed by the virus. It's mainly not the virus itself. It's just the fact that it creates this cytokine storm where there's so much virus present that basically the heart kind of attacks itself.
Yeah, it's autoimmune.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And Obi, we have a couple of questions about this. This is a general question about how people want to come in the WhatsApp group and they want to fill in the survey.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so we very grateful that we have IT wizards within our group, the people that are very tech savvy. Toba, Carol, Preta, so we have, so I'm going to be sending out a list. So we're going to be having, so that they know who IT leads are. And I'm going to discuss with Dr. Michel, once we're done with this call, once we have approval, we're going to be sending an email on how people could do that. So right now we have everything, all our resources within Google Drive, and we're using WhatsApp. But as the group is expanding, we're already trying to see how, it will migrate to Dropbox and just to have a large capacity, then it equally migrate to Telegram, right? So very soon we'll be shutting down the WhatsApp group and moving on to Telegram. Right, but you'll be getting an announcement, like we're going to be sending out that detail via emails, and yes, then we'll be shutting down the Google Drive, and you will be using Dropbox. So we'll be calling for your Dropbox ID very soon.
Okay, so Dr. Kapil, we have two questions for you. The first question is, how much time commitment is needed to become a trained contact tracer?
Well, that's a good question. And that is something that we will certainly take into consideration as we pull this together. We haven't yet pulled it together, but definitely we want to make this so that it's easy. It should be very easy. Whatever we're doing will be easily learnable. So the larger time commitment would be the number of people that they would choose, that they would be able to be tracing.
All right, and Dr. Kapil, the second question is, will we be able to recruit the volunteers once we are trained?
I think we should be able to. That's something that's a little bit out of my purview of what I'm doing, but I don't know why we couldn't be, because we need hundreds of thousands of them. So
It's true.
I would say yes.
Be bold.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr.
I was just saying that I agree with them. You have to be bold here. We're going to be developing things that have never been done before. Remember, novel COVID, SARS-CoV-2 is just that. It is new. And therefore, we're seeing an upswing of the amount of people who are getting the calls to arm that are going to be in the public health district and in the sector. And this is part of how things get developed. And it takes somebody that has vision, and everyone else here has the desire to help and knows how intricate this part is as a piece in a puzzle, that you can't solve this puzzle without this connection that we're doing now. So I say be bold. The federal government will stop us for anything that they think is not working right, but not in a disciplinary sense, and an understanding that this is something that needs all hands on deck. And the sheer power number of 100,000 right now is the lowest number to 250,000, which is the higher number, is the only way that this is the proven way to knock down the curve.
To give everyone an example of how unprepared we are as a country for this, when we first started doing the testing, I thought I would just sign off, because basically, if you're going to tell somebody that they have to go to the doctor's office to get a prescription to get a COVID test and wait in the waiting room, if they didn't have COVID, they're going to get it while they're coughing on each other in the waiting room. So I said, look, we're going to do an online form. If they check to have any symptoms, I'm going to sign the prescription. I got a call from the Florida Board of Medicine telling me that I could lose my license because I had to have a face-to-face visit with the person before I could prescribe it. And I said, you know what? Thank God I don't use my license.
Yeah.
That would be a great story for me to lose my license for that. It would be really, I think I would love to lose my license for that. So go ahead. But this is what's happening.
I agree.
Government is not prepared for this. And so they want to enforce these rules that make absolutely no sense. So we're going to meet with some of that. And I think we just need to say, look, we're doing the best we can, and that's it. And you can criticize it. It may not be according to, the guy that called me was a lawyer for the Florida Board of Medicine. And I said, you're not even a doctor. You're not going to tell me how I think I should best treat my patients. And I'm not going to make them wait a week to get a prescription, while at the same time they're transmitting this disease to everybody else out in the community. So, but we're gonna have a lot of people criticize us, tell us that we're meddling into none of our business. But I'm telling you something: if you ever want to come any close to a semblance of what life used to be like, we need to do this, and we need to do this now.
Here's something else that needs to be kept in check: is that this is an election year, so there is a lot of disorganization right now on both sides of the aisle. And there's a lot of things that both has to, and this is where emerging threats comes in, is foreseeing these type of things. Because if the government structure changes to a more liberal progressive standpoint, then you're going to see more public health centric policies and funding go that way. And the left is already talking about that. The right is talking about it too, but from a business standpoint, which is fine. But either way, there is a way to be on the right out the gate faster than everybody else. And it only comes from doing stuff like this, not like waiting for the call. This is proactivity is going to make a difference. And, the old cliche is that, his heart's in the right place. So you're not doing anything maliciously. You're doing something here out of complete humanitarian compassion. And because you're frustrated and you have skills and you could use them and you have resources. And I think that, I don't know about everyone else, the 100 people here, but I feel exactly the way that Dr. Michelle does, and I feel great following this doctor, because that's how things are going to get done. And if you're wrong, then we fix it. And if you're right, we implement it. And that is how you leave your footprint. And that's how you make a seismic, statement.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ramon and Dr. Mitchell. Yeah, definitely COVID-19 is going to, change everything about our lives, even the way we see patients. Whether as student, everything, things might go remotely most of the time, even the way we work. Yeah, so, and the infrastructures are already being built, and we're all on Zoom right now. So it's transformational, right? But, yeah. So let's keep working on this and see what things we could learn, and what are some of the best practices. And I look forward to working with us towards those publications. And Dr. Sean mentioned that he published a lot, some of his work, and we look forward to. I know that it's Team 11 that Dr. Michelle is going to share more insight about, the research components. And very soon we're going to be sharing various functional groups, and we'll be sending out, we'll be sending out like notification about that for people to sign on to various groups. I know Dr. John Van Capel has some insight about how many team members he might be needing. Dr. John Capel, are you still on this line?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yes.
Yeah, please tell us more, and so that we start thinking about it for those that have training.
Well, I think that's the important thing is to put the training together to see how long is a questionnaire with somebody, and then we can figure out how many people somebody can cover in a certain number of hours per week, because we'll have people volunteer. Some will want to volunteer 5 hours, some 10, some 20. So we'll need to be able to figure out how many they could oversee, and what all is involved in overseeing it. Is it just one interview, or do they need to go back and interview them at another point? I don't, so we need to work all those out.
And how many, I know you shared some insight with me, how many people do you need now to start figuring that out?
Well, I would like to, talk with Sean, and I think that anybody who has experience in actually putting, I guess, but it's your application, Sean, is already web based, right?
What's that?
The
yes,
application you're talking about is web based.
Yeah,
right?
And again, it's not mine. It's just the system I used for so long, and it seems very appropriate for this, because that's what we did through H1N1 and Zika.
Do we have to? How do we get permission to be able to?
We're gonna. I spoke to the medical director today at University of Miami Jackson Memorial, Florida Poison Center, Miami, and we know the same people. So he brought up some facts that may have to be overcome, but this phone call seems to be easily resolved when Dr. Michelle speaks to Dr. Bernstein or Dr. Weissman.
Okay, great.
Which they'll do tomorrow, by the way.
I think that once we have that, and we review that, I think what I'd like to do is have, be sure that we've got people like maybe a few, I don't know, epidemiologists or people who have used this type of materials. Can we review that?
Okay.
To be sure that we're not leaving something out.
We have epidemiologists on the team. We have a couple of them. So yeah.
And then I think that it would be helpful to be sure that, what are we, I think the whole branding idea, we need to be sure that we've got that, who's locking that down.
Okay.
And
while you're trying to get more information, let me check in and see if Camilo is on the line so that he's getting ready. Camilo, are you there? Oh, okay, so you're wrong. Okay, just please get your PowerPoint ready. I'll switch the mic back to Dr. John Van Capel. So he's going to continue while you get ready. Okay.
Yeah, I think that for right now, I think that if we can decide that we're going to be using this app, getting that information down into a script would be really helpful. So
developing a manual.
Yeah, so having somebody who has some experience with that would be that wants to get involved.
Yeah, a medical writer could do it.
Okay.
Kind of like a grant.
While Camilo gets ready, I'm just going to ask anybody, can you give me your name if you're in region 1? Just give me your name. Anybody? No region 1?
Do they want to type it in the chat? Do they want to type it in the chat, or they want to give you?
Yeah, I already went through the chat, but I haven't seen anybody else. Only 2 people. How about region 2? Anybody in region 2? Give me your name.
Aneza.
AM?
Aneza Fitan.
Are you identified with that name in the Maza? Can't find you.
Yeah.
Are you like a 317 number?
There's a
No,
lot
I'm,
for
I-
Region two.
I'm actually from Pakistan, but I would like to work in region.
In region 2? Okay, but how are you identified on your on this call? Under what name?
Uneza Faizan, UNAIZA, Uneza Faizan.
Oh, it's a you. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, let me just add you here. Well, Camilo, whenever
Yeah.
you're ready to go, I can stop doing this.
I'm ready. Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear
Okay,
me?
go ahead.
Yeah,
So anybody else who hasn't put in their names in the region, put it in the chat group, okay?
Yeah. So Camilo, do you want me to stop sharing so that you share your own screen, or do you?
Can I
how do
share
you
my
want-
screen and I'll
Okay, so
display,
I'll stop sharing mine so that you share yours. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Hello everybody. So let me pop the screen open. Okay, no. Wrong screen. Sorry.
Take your time.
I'm viewing your screen.
You view my screen. I stopped sharing.
Yeah, we're viewing your screen right now.
Okay, let me see what's going on.
You know, while we're doing this multitasking, I think that somewhere on the website or information site that's going to outline what we're doing here should list the benefits, the other perks, so to speak, you know, that we know you'll do it for nothing, but here's what you could essentially, you know, obtain while you're volunteering, you know.